The basic characteristic feature of any civilization is that it wants to sustain for a long, long time. And I think it's safe to say that our very own country has been pretty successful at it. Considering the fact that we are the oldest living civilization and that all the other civilization can be seen only in museums and monuments and has nothing to do with utility. When I say oldest, we are still finding rock shelters and paintings that are relevant till date. We have been sustaining for over 30,000 years and we still don't have a definite date. So what is the secret behind this sustenance? The answer lies codified within a word, and the word is Bharat. Especially in our language, every syllable has a meaning associated with it. And this association of the meaning and the sound is not absolutely random. If one studies the science of sound has an aspect of physicality attached to it. And it is obvious that anything physical has the power to influence physicality around it. Here the meaning is associated with the sound after understanding how that particular sound influences reality. That is the beauty of Sanskrit language. So here we'll have to look at two words, Bharata and Bharata. Bharata simply means one who supports or one who has the ability to sustain. The name itself means sustenance. Sustenance is the basic feature of Indian culture, and there are individuals who are named after this definition according to their contribution. For example, there was the king Bharata, the son of Dushyanta, who was known for his justness and impeccable order. And two, the sage Bharata, who wrote the Natya Shastra, the great text of aesthetics and finance. We also have the great seer Jada Bharata, who gave us the eternal spirituality. Here we have three important personalities behind the name Bharata, who are differentiated in terms of their quality. What it means is that we need order, which we see in King Bharata, and we need entertainment and enrichment of culture, which we see in the sage Bharata, and we need liberation and bliss of the highest order, which can be visible in Jada Bharata. These are three essential qualities necessary for sustenance, both for an individual and a civilization. So we have a definition and we have three personalities who have contributed to this definition. They were essentially named because of their contribution. So the three Bharatas personify the spirit of Indian culture. And we've had a lot of Bharatas and Bharatis, including a few in the Jain tradition and Buddhist tradition, who are in no way different in spirit from the ones we have seen. Now the word Bharata. Bharata is derived from the word Bharata, in which the letter Bha has over 30 meanings, out of which a few are light, delight, awareness, and truth. And Ratha means desiring something or to have interest in something. So Bharata means one who desires light or absolute truth. As Bharata is derived from Bharata, they are in no way different from each other in spirit. The words are formulas for an individual's quest to liberation and civilization's sustenance. We also have the Bharatas, a clan of the Vedic age, who fought the legendary battle of 10 kings and emerged victorious. The clan lived on and thrived to become our ancestors. This again points out the sustenance aspect of the word. Here we can see that the name is multifaceted. We have this beautiful way of looking at things at two different levels simultaneously, the physical and the spiritual. In this context, Bharata at its physical level gives us a geographical identity with the example of our ancestors. In fact, the land itself was named Bharatvarsh. Bharat at a spiritual level is a concept that has the power to sustain. In that case, India can be realized at any space and time because it's a concept. It transcends space and time. One has to understand that any entity at the level of physicality has to be elevated to the level of spirituality to make any sense. And at the same time, if any entity at the level of spirituality has to be brought down to the level of utility, it has to be physical. Here the combination of the physical and the spiritual is inevitable. If not, no culture, no civilization can survive. No workable model for the betterment of the society can be brought out. Let's be honest, we have seen a number of models that have failed miserably. For example, the Hellenistic or the monotheistic traditions, including Islam and Christianity, have an exclusivist mentality in the name of religion and has done more harm than any good. On the other side, models like communism have created facades of good intention, are extremely rigid and are driven by the intellect alone. This has created a lot of damage. Here in Bharat and its concept, we look at things at two different levels, which is how the language of Sanskrit works. It's very multidimensional. Now let's address the name that we used to call ourselves. What does the word India mean? Speaking of the way it originated, the province beyond the river Sindhu or Indus was known as India. In the Persian language, the utterance Sa became Ha. So Sindhu became Hindu. And in the Greek language, the sound Ha is not present. Instead, they use A or E. So Hindu became Indu. Indica by Megasthenes is a good example. And of course, the Britishers called us India. So the river Sindhu, which later became Indus, was the identification mark. The land beyond the river Indus was called India. Now it's obvious that nothing that's significant in the word Bharat is present in the word India. So there's no point in comparing the two and addressing each and every point. So let's leave all that aside. And also leaving the science of sound aside. Psychologically speaking, words are containers that hold memories and experiences in them. Not only of individuals, but also of entire societies. The collective memory causes an inferiority complex here. When a person feels inferior to another, he automatically aspires and behaves like the other. And he works according to the framework that is set up by the other. If you're still one of those who says, how can a name change make any difference? A slave is given a new name by his master to establish his inferiority and to rewrite his identity itself. Now, even after his release, if the slave continues to enjoy the name that was given by his master, he's physically released but is mentally still enslaved. Our government post-independence committed the blunder of retaining the framework that was set up by the British in terms of bureaucracy, law, education, and of course the name itself, and the damage is irrevocable. This made us forget who we really are. We have become what our colonizers wanted us to become. The formula of nation building is codified into the word Bharat. Bharat as a concept, Bharat as a description, Bharat as an identity denotes the greatness of our civilization. But one must be aware that this pride can easily make people egoistic, which can be prevented only by understanding the essence of Bharat. Coming to the name change, it must be ridiculous and extremely impractical to officially change the name of a country. But there's always been a starting point for every radical change that's taken place. At the end of the day, all that matters is the intent, and that we at least start calling ourselves Bharat and at least start using the name for our domestic conversations. In fact, a lot of other countries have their own way of addressing themselves. For example, Germans call themselves Deutschland and do not use the name that's given to them. Think about it. Do we want to call ourselves using a name that gives us a sense of identity and is the most successful concept for both an individual and the sustenance of a civilization? Or do we have to use a name that gives us a sense of inferiority complex and a name that actually means nothing?